Let's say you sell stuff on eBay or Amazon and they don't send you a 1099 with your sales numbers on it. That means you don't have to report or pay income on your reselling taxes, right? Wrong. Hey, my name is Mark too, and I'm a CPA who specializes in helping online resellers with taxes and growing their businesses profitably. One of the most prevalent misconceptions with e-commerce is that if you don't get a 1099, then you don't have to report the income on your taxes. This unfortunately is not true. Payment processors like Amazon and PayPal aren't sending you 1099s out of the goodness of their hearts. They do it because they're legally required to. There are several different 1099 forms, but right now we're talking specifically about the 1099-K. The 1099-K was created so that the IRS could make sure that people were reporting their online sales on their taxes. Credit card companies and third-party processors like PayPal, like Amazon, are required to report the payment transactions that they process for you and me to the IRS. So who gets a 1099-K? Not everyone who sells online will receive a 1099-K. You'll usually only get one if you exceed certain thresholds, which includes anyone who has online payments that exceed $20,000 and more than 200 payment card transactions. Notice the and. You have to have both sales over $20,000 and over 200 separate transactions. If you have just one or the other, then you probably won't get a 1099. And it's possible that the payment processor makes a mistake and sends you one even if you're below those thresholds, but the requirement is for them to send you a 1099 if you meet both of those criteria. If you're below those thresholds, then you most likely will not receive a 1099-K. Again, this doesn't mean that you don't have to report that income on your tax return. You do have to report that income on your tax return. All it means is that the IRS is likely not going to have a record of your online sales for that year. So if you don't report it, it's possible that no one will ever know. But do you really want to take that chance? So I'll just say it one last time. You need to report your online selling income on your taxes even if you don't get a 1099. For more information on specifics, check out my other video about when you have to pay taxes on your online sales. Now let's say you did exceed those thresholds. When you get a 1099-K in the mail from PayPal or from the payment processor, that means that the IRS also received that information. So if you don't report those numbers on your tax return, you can pretty much count on getting a letter from the IRS billing you for additional tax along with penalties and interest. And you might not hear from them for a few months or maybe even for a few years. But they will find you. This is a really common scenario with new resellers or really anyone just starting to dabble with self-employment. Maybe you'll get a 1099 and not know what to do with it. Maybe you'll forget about it, or maybe one of your kids threw it away. Usually someone sends me an email saying that they didn't know they were supposed to report their online sales on their income tax return and that they just got a letter from the IRS assessing them way more tax than the person was expecting. If this happens to you, don't panic. Remember, the only thing the IRS has is a record of your sales, your total gross sales. They have no idea what your business expenses were, what you paid for your inventory, for supplies, software, rent, contractors, and all the other expenses that you incur when you're running your business. So here's an example. Let's say your 1099 shows total sales of $25,000. If you didn't report that on your taxes, they're going to send you a letter saying, hey, you underreported your income by $25,000 and now you owe us, let's say, $8,000. That kind of news is almost enough to make a lot of people drop dead. But the stress that that type of letter causes is totally unnecessary because it's not true. What you usually need to do in this case is go back and submit an amended return where you show not only the gross sales, which the IRS already has on file, but also all of your deductions. So let's say you had $20,000 of deductible business expenses. That would leave you a profit of $5,000. And since you're taxed on your profit and not your total income, you'd end up closer to owing an additional $1,000 to $2,000 rather than the $8,000, which is a big difference. Or in some cases, people have expenses that exceed their income. So if you have, let's say, $30,000 of deductible expenses, you'd end up with a loss of $5,000. And that loss would offset other income like W-2 income that you might have on your tax return, reducing your overall taxable income, and in that case, you might even get a couple $1,000s back in your pocket. One thing to be aware of is that the number reported on your 1099-K will likely not exactly match your true gross sales because it also includes things like sales tax collected. So if you use their number without deducting the portion that's not truly part of gross sales, then you'll be overpaying your taxes. But you don't want to report less than your 1099 shows because that could be a flag for the IRS. If you're doing your own bookkeeping, you'll know what your gross sales should be, and I would usually just go with your own number, unless the 1099 number is higher than what you have on your books. In that case, report the 1099 number and then deduct the difference. That way everything will all net out the same. One last thing to be aware of is that some states have their own thresholds for requiring 1099s. Vermont and Massachusetts, for example, require payment processors to send 1099s if the processed payments are about $600 or more. So if you live in Vermont or Massachusetts and you don't exceed the IRS thresholds of $20,000 in 200 transactions, but you do sell more than $600 in that state, the IRS won't know about it, but the state will. In conclusion, don't forget to report your online reselling income whether or not you receive a 1099. Be sure to subscribe for more videos on how to get your taxes and accounting on track in your reselling business, and check out @NotYourDadCPA on Instagram for more tips and behind the scenes. Also check out the links below for resources such as my Reseller Finance ebook and Reseller Tax Academy course. It's all about helping you optimize your tax situation so you can ditch the anxiety and focus on building your business profitably.